everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus from Threshold of Hineni, and this is one of my days of blessing that I'm going to be doing for the next couple months until the 1-year anniversary of when Bill died. And I'm doing this because I just want to reframe things for myself, and so I'm not sideswiped and end up in a major depression, because there's a lot of things in the next couple months that will be anniversaries and stuff that in the past year, some of the anniversaries have just made me super depressed. And so I'm trying to be proactive, and I want to focus on the blessings that God's given me to help me deal with all this stuff in the last, well, right now it's 10 months, but by the time that I finish this series, it'll be a year. So anyway, I wrote down a whole bunch of blessings, ways that God's blessed me, and I put them on little slips of paper in this basket that I'm going to pull them out of, because I just wanted to do them in a random order. But I did decide, I'm just making this up as I go, you guys, so I can keep changing the rules. I did decide that there were 3 things that I wanted to talk about first. So these will be the first 3 of these recordings. So the first one that I decided I wanted to talk about was that God called me to worship and let me finish the song before I talked to the trooper. Okay, so I'm going to be working on some stuff while I'm talking. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It's just to keep my hands busy, and so that you're not just staring into nothing. Here, you don't have to watch this. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing, so if you want to just listen, you can. Anyway, so what happened that day was, Bill left, I think it was around 11 or so, and he normally, when he drives, he would call me every hour and a half. He would drive for about an hour and a half, and it could get to be like 2 hours, but usually it was an hour and a half, and then he would call me, and he'd get out and walk while he talked to me, because it's not good for you, especially the older you get, it's not good for you to just sit for a long time, and especially driving. And he had had a DVT before, so deep venous thrombosis, so it was just really important for him to get out and walk every hour and a half to 2 hours. And it had been 6 hours since he left, and I had not heard a thing from him, not a single thing. And I was becoming very, very scared that something had happened. And anyway, I got really scared, and I just felt like I needed to go worship for a little while. So I went into my office, and I put on my YouTube worship playlist, and I put on my headphones, and I sang at the top of my voice and cried and prayed in tongues, and and everything while I was listening to this, because I was just terrified that something bad had happened. I mean, I knew this was the longest that we had not communicated in our entire, since we met each other online. We were always talking to each other. We were always on the phone with each other if we weren't together, or we were texting each other if we were in opposite sides of the house. And when he would go on a trip, like I said, he called me every hour and a half or 2 hours when he was on the road, and and probably every 2 or 3 hours, or sometimes a little bit less than that, while he was gone. And so when he didn't call for 6 hours, it just really freaked me out. So the song that I played was one that had been going through my head for months, and it was Chris Tomlin's song. I think the name of it is Whom Shall I Fear, but I always call it Angel Armies, because it says, I know who goes before me, I know who goes behind, the God of angel armies is always at my side, or something like that. And I don't know why it had been on my mind for months. Catchy tune, I don't know. I like it. It was a good song. So anyway, so the thing that was really cool to me about that I didn't realize for maybe a week or so, was that God let me finish that entire song Apparently the trooper was knocking at my door, but I didn't hear him because I had my headphones on and I was singing at the top of my voice. And when I finished singing, I took off my headphones and I posted the song on Facebook. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to say that I was scared, I guess. And so I didn't say anything about it, but I just hoped that one of my friends, because I have a lot of friends who are prayer warriors and worshipers, I just hoped that somebody would pick it up and worship with me. Well, as soon as I finished posting it, I got a phone call. And I to this day, I'm not sure who it was, but I'm kind of assuming that it was the police department here in Sweetwater. And they told me that there was a state trooper outside my door, and would I please answer the door? And right then I knew what it was. I mean, why does a state trooper show up at your door when your husband's on a car trip, right? And I didn't know if he had been killed or if he was like really badly hurt and in the hospital or what. But I had a horrible feeling that he was killed. And so I went to the door, and the trooper wasn't there right then. But, you know, when I walked out onto the grass, he came walking down the hill. He had gone up to a neighbor's to see if he could try to find me. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the troopers in another video, but I just wanted to share how God, even for this really, really horrible thing, God prepared my heart a little bit for it by letting me have that time of worship. He let me, not just let me, he drew me to be centered on him before I heard the worst news of my entire life. And there are things like that, other things that happen too, that it's like, I don't know if I could have survived this without God doing those things and working these things out ahead of time for me. He knew what was going to happen. And so he, in a way, prepared me for it. It was still really horrible. I still, screamed and cried for days. I mean, I've cried for 10 months, but the screaming stopped after a few days. But anyway, it was a blessing that God let me have that worship time, and that he let me get all the way through that song, and he let me post it for my friends to maybe worship with too. And that's really big. So anyway, so I wanted to share that for today, and I love you. I will talk to you tomorrow, and let's pray for each other, okay? Bye-bye.